Hello there everyone and welcome back. I have finally gone over the myriad of factions we have to play with in Armada 2 and now it's time to get to the real meat of what I have in mind now. Which is basically going over each of these factions one at a time, ideally for a week, but maybe I might play them for 2 weeks straight to at least get a good amount of knowledge with these factions and of course get my MMR ranking up to the point where we can at least see some real competitive matches. That's the hope at least. And then ultimately I would like to try and start publishing some guides there, since long term I really would like to help with the longevity if nothing else of the multiplayer, and if Tindalos is going to continue putting content of some kind, even for the campaign, then that's looking pretty promising. That is the hope, that's the dream anyway, but we're going to be starting off with the first two factions, or at least the very first of the factions. The Imperial Navy, I'm going to start off with them, and the second one's going to be Chaos, mainly because these are the quote-unquote beginner fleets. They're the simplest to get into. Sure, the Chaos may be a little bit difficult to use effectively because they play the slow and steady route rather. And unless you want to go with slaughters or something super aggressive, they kind of want to kill things slowly and avoid conflict. But they're still pretty simple to get into. And then afterwards we'll leave it to maybe polls to decide what faction I do next. And ultimately get all 12 factions done, but of course that's going to be a long undertaking, safe to say. So that's where the 2 weeks come in, or at least 1-2 weeks to try and get my ranking up for a good series of matches as I get my knowledge and understanding of these factions down. That's the hope anyway, and you already know what at least my starting Imperial fleet is going to be. It's the one I used before. I like to think this is a well-rounded fleet. I kind of wish I had more overlords. It's a possibility if I want to cut out some frigates, mind you. Since how much am I investing? If I cut out a frigate, I basically can only get one overlord, so maybe not so much. But the Exorcist has good utility there. It's got the macro cannons to complement the arm-piercing rounds, and it has the carriers, which, if I'm going to use the torpedoes at long range, since I have 6 salvos to utilize, that is a possibility. I can use these to kind of distract point defense, light ships on fire, to potentially burn their emergency repairs before I get in close combat, which will give me a good tempo swing, especially if I'm lucky enough to get critical hits. But otherwise, this is more my defensive ship. It's got firepower to contribute. It's the one thing I need to understand the most to get full value out of. Dauntless is kind of to help bully frigates away and provide a little bit of vision, and it's been working surprisingly well against, Drukhari at least, because the Drukhari never see the Dauntless coming. I have it hold fire and then all of a sudden a Dauntless comes ramming and isolate a Drukhari ship that's boosting away. It's kind of miraculous. Hopefully I get to demonstrate that at some point to full effect. But its torpedoes, point defense is still handy regardless, and we already know what the frigates are for. With the Valkyon kind of to help with the brute forcing of pushing frigates away with the Dauntless. That's the idea anyway. In the Retribution, I decided to switch it out for a micro warp jump to at least complement its lack of mobility. This thing has ridiculous firepower and ramming potential. Let's not underestimate the spurs. They can merge things quickly if I can get a good salt ram in. I haven't quite got it perfectly down since I need to know the minimum distance I can teleport from a ship, and it's been tricky at times, but otherwise, you're familiar with everything else. The only thing I really question is Disruption Bomb. I feel like I could get better value with another skill, but the main reason I have this is for the Corsairs and Eshuriani, to negate their hollow field if at all possible. Sadly, it does absolutely nothing for the Drukhari. Hell, I'm basically giving them permanent cloak because their shadow field's technically maxed out, even though it has no energy. So weird synergy there. But otherwise, I do question its value in the other factions, but getting rid of the shields of like heavy Grand Cruiser fleets has still been impactful. That's the only thing I'm a little bit uncertain about, and I am planning at some point to maybe mix up with one of these videos over the week, since I really do want to try and play with the Apocalypse for 1v1. I had fun with it in 2v2s, but I have yet to put it to the real test, or even just an all-heavy Novacan fleet in general, which, arguably with the Adeptus Mechanicus, may be a bit questionable since short-range macro cannons don't synergize the best with the Novacan, since I need to get through the shields if I really want these things to do damage. Excuse me. And even though I can field 6 of these in a single fleet, I could kind of brute force it. It's just a little less unoptimized, to a vague extent. But I'm curious in delving into other fleet compositions and all that, nonetheless. But I ranted on long enough. You see what I'm feeling? Let's hopefully provide us some good matches now. Alright, Tau Protectors. I have yet to actually face off the Tau Protectors since I gone back into the Imperial Navy, but they were almost exclusively the only thing I've been really fighting in before my original display of them. And while maybe I was playing a little bit too passively in my one YouTube video of it against Tau, you have to seriously respect the damage potential of the Seeker Missiles and the Manta Bombers. You get too reckless, that thing's gonna eviscerate even a battleship incredibly quickly. But if I can hit them while it's still on cooldown and getting close, especially now that I have a micro warp jump to make that a lot more convenient, it's sure to melt at least the Protectors and maybe the Sauces incredibly fast. And let's not even talk about the Custodian, how vulnerable that is with lack of high energy turn. Still need to be careful, since with their prow armor they're still incredibly resilient and they're still firing their railguns at me after all. So it's not as amazing as it may seem, it's just something I need to rely on if I want to really punish them. Especially quickly in combination with torpedoes. So timing my aggression should be really important. I still believe that even after my last match, that it was just unfortunate I lost 2 of my engines there, but at least one of it, the Retribution losing his engines is no longer a problem with the micro warp jump. It's just a matter of positioning. Nonetheless, I love these 3 points here. I don't think it matters too much for this type of matchup, since I'm going to be forced to engage aggressively. And I kind of forgot to put you in a proper group. Very minor point, but let's see. I already know they have fighters, so there's no need for me to send scout fighters over there to kind of reveal them. Since they're easily going to negate my very valuable squadrons, I have 3 of these and I need to get full value. At least mitigate a lot of their fighter squadrons. Which with a Custodian that's going to be tricky to do, because this looks like 6 Warrens maybe. So it's not too ridiculous. We may be dealing with 2 Custodians here, which outside the Manta Bombers and Seeker Missiles, those Custodians don't have a lot of actual macro weaponry, at least in comparison to Sauces and Protectors. Since a basic way to consider the railgun potential of those Custodians is they're basically a Sauce and a Protector mashed together, almost quite literally, since it has what, 8? It has roughly like 12 maybe single railgun batteries and like 6 or 8 double railgun batteries, which is pretty damn close to what the Sauces and Protectors have respectively. Especially when you include the 2 prow railguns that the Protectors have. It's really the Manta Bombers that makes the Custodian, well, that and the Seeker Missiles that make the Custodian super serious threat. And you have to seriously respect that. Now let's keep these fighters going. I'm gonna have 3 points really easy. I just gotta be mindful of not getting spotted. Hell, I'm really tempted to just grab this 1 point. But let's play this proper. Just defend these points. That was also another flaw that I did in my one match, is that I moved away from the points, which caused me to lose to the objective as well. But looks like I'm not gonna have an easy way, a convenient way to grab these points. But maybe I could confront that, and maybe the Dauntless can deal with it. Okay, fighter squadrons. I can have brace impact at the ready.
Brace for impact.
And we'll hold these back, because they're going to contribute with the point defense, and I don't want them too exposed to take unnecessary damage. Since I'd rather leave them in the brace with silent running just in case. So Custodian and 2 Protectors. And I have at least 2 squadrons out, right? Sadly, my fighter's gonna get shot down horribly, but if they can at least thin out these fighter numbers incredibly well, then that does well for me for the potential Seeker Missiles I have to deal with. Like, these Warrens can be easy targets to melt. So far, so good. I'm a little bit worried about my fighters, or ships kind of flying off. Railguns, okay. Now, let's fire, melt us, and ram these things, ideally. Sadly, you're gonna dodge at a bad time. And I would like to fire some melted torpedoes as well at you. Okay, let's grab this point there. be mindful
Ordnance
that my
acknowledged.
positioning is not all that great.
All ahead, full.
And you are strictly on defensive and keep the fighters from doing harm. Of course, you're getting nice weapon hits at a bad time.
We wait your command. Burn
Alright, this is a lot of frigates. Maybe I should commit.
Ship ready. Burn
Are these torpedoes going to hit me? Nope, the prow is what was destroyed. So I only got 2 salvo fighters.
The enemy has seized a strategic area.
Decks destroyed. I was kind of thinking of emergency repairs, and that's clearly not worth it.
We serve.
Alright, this is our opportunity. Where's the seeker missiles? That's the one thing I'm afraid of right now.
Underway.
But the Manta bombers are all but dead.
We wait your command.
Ideally, ram these wardens. Okay. Destroy.
Burn retros.
Come on.
Underway.
This is gonna hurt,
You
but
have
the fighters are
seized
doing
a
the thing.
strategic area.
We serve.
The fighters did their thing, thankfully.
Aye, Admiral.
And I got a nice ramming damage. Now I gotta focus the damage.
Targeting enemy vessel.
Ideally, kill this one sauce.
Aye, Admiral.
This is... Oh, well, one protector's already gone. That's good there.
Ready.
We'll bomb this other protector.
25%
Well, the faster this matches, the more I can get in for the YouTube videos. So I think this is a win-win in some situations. Just not what I was seriously expecting.
Your command. Your orders.
Does that hit? Full hit.
We serve.
That was a nice insult there. Only thing I could have done is maybe be a little better on these torpedoes.
Your orders.
I'm curious what the rank of my opponent was for this. Since I had some really intense matches earlier, it could be like the American players coming on now. Not that that's a negative slight to the
Ready.
American players, but what I mean is since at least before all my practice games of today was due to it being a holiday, I was playing against a lot of European players in their prime time. Whereas I imagine American players are playing just after their work hours. Or just getting back from work. I'm gonna assume anyway.
Changing course.
I might as well stop before I dig myself a bigger hole. I don't mean it as a slight. I apologize.
Loaded and sent.
I just had some really good matches in preparation. And a few losses too, I will admit.
Accumulated 50% of strategic
But-
points.
That's kind of what I had in mind there.
Understood.
Jump in there between cooldowns and, well, cooldowns of the seeker missiles and the bombers ideally. But the Exorcist did amazingly well. That was it, my one tyrant soaked that seeker missile barrage amazingly because of the fighters. Oh. Yeah, he was a really high rank. He has the same rank as me, so I don't know what happened there. I couldn't explain it. It's a serious opponent. It isn't like a mismatch, from what I can tell. But nonetheless, let's continue building up our rank and work towards what I have in mind. Since that wasn't a good display as far as a town matchup, maybe the execution is all I could really demonstrate. Ooh, Necrons. I've been itching for a nerve matchup against them, although I'm afraid to say I may already know what they're fielding. If they're going to go like the Brawler setup, they're going to be all about that close-range AoE, health regen and damage aura. So I may not get the convenience of just rushing in there headlong and trying to murder them. Never mind the fact my melted torpedoes are not going to be very effective in this matchup, but it should be a good time nonetheless. I am curious. I'm going to have to experiment what happens with the armor-piercing rounds when they get changed and nerfed, since I think without a doubt they're no longer going to reduce armor to 50 there, but I can't remember if they're reducing armor by 10 or 25, or am I just thinking lances? That I'm not sure about, and it's something I'll have to seriously consider for future matchups against Necrons. That might be a bit of a problem. So now, let's hopefully put up a good match there. If this is a viewer, then I apologize. Well, I don't apologize. I hope I can give you a good time, a serious match here. But, without a doubt, my torpedoes are going to be essential. I just got to time it well with the Star Pulse generator, so that way they don't immediately get erased. That's the main catch. If I can hit with them with multiple salvos and that, I am doing good, but it remains to be seen what my opponent's actually fielding. With that said, I'm assuming for some reason like tomb ships or the battle cruisers at least. But I haven't really had much encounters with the stealth-oriented build, or at least with the light cruisers. That's something that will require a different type of play style. So let's get this started. And right off the bat, it looks like 3 battle cruisers.
We wait your command.
Do I launch fighters? I kind of already know what I'm up against. I'm just wondering what value is there to keep the fighters with that said. Well, I'm going to get them back either way. Sadly, melted torpedoes are not going to be very useful, but I could maybe make it a really uncomfortable position for them there where maybe play chicken, make them think it's real dumbfire torpedoes. If anything, the Retribution should fire the regular dumbfire torpedoes and the Tyrant should fire the Meltas. Since I'm very unlikely to get all 3 charges of my regular torpedoes just due to its lack of mobility. So I think I could get away with that. I just need to know when do I want to fire them, because I'd rather the micro-warp jump be spent when I can punish it the most, rather than give them time to recharge, ideally. So maybe I want to do that in the next, once I get this point maybe, or next 30 seconds. Yeah, it looks like 3 battle cruisers, so I'm trying to remember, is it 3 or 4 frigates that I need to worry about? Especially if he's got them, if it marks. Upgrades are going to be really important here too to see. Tesseract Crypt. I'd rather just destroy weapons, but I don't know if that's as effective as I make it sound.
We serve.
Alright, dumbfire torpedoes and the melted torpedoes. Well, I don't know. They're just regular torpedoes, I guess. You know that was a mistake now that I think of it. Maybe. If they're melted torpedoes, yeah, Star Pulse Generator. I was thinking maybe burning. Ooh, the Tesseract Bolt. I'm overthinking this a little bit. Let's just see what happens for one.
You have seized a strategic area.
Since these Meltas will do nothing, maybe. It did burn a pulse, which is something I can utilize some.
Changing course.
Now let's fire these torpedoes. This is a good matchup for me here, because I got the armor and the health pool. Can I hit with the torpedoes though?
You have seized a strategic area.
Not quite, but instead of frigates though, at least there's the dang. I'm losing my train of thought. There's the dang Scythe or Shroud, whatever light cruiser was there. Now, gotta be careful of this. My disruption bomb is not gonna be very useful in this regard, but I did get torpedo hits. I heard hits anyway. I just want to try and ideally burn off some of those. What is it? The Star Pulse generators, ideally, because those are going to hit nicely. Engine permanently destroyed, so that's one basically out of the fight there.
Coordinates acknowledged.
And now let's reload, get some more firepower in, and ideally keep these things alive. Their torpedoes actually can be useful in this regard if I use them properly.
Engaging engines.
I do need to focus fire a little bit. Oh, 2 engines gone. You said, oh, and repairing everything. Okay, that's probably the best thing I could have seen right there. Just jump away in a panic. But there's still this fight going on here, and without an engine, this thing is all but screwed. I just gotta hit with the torpedoes. And ram it some more, ideally. This is really good position for me. I was a little bit intimidated by the AoE aura, in all truth, but if they don't have it, it's a different story. But this is looking good here. My Dauntless can win this matchup, and I don't quite have 3 points, so I probably do need to start capturing. Try and capture their points some. Now, their health is regenerated too, let's keep that in mind. This isn't quite a win just yet. But any damage I can do, and ideally spread out to minimize the amount I take from the Star Pulse generator is good. Now, can we finish this off with one final torpedo salvo? All the while, I should be safe with the main fleet since their jump isn't available yet. Booster ran off. This is not going to hit, is it? Oh, wow. Just enough torpedoes actually got the kill.
Setting course.
Can you dodge? Can you dodge? Nope, not quite.
Maximum burn.
I'm a little bit worried about... Let's see. About the Star Pulse generator, but if I could start burning them out now with against these torpedoes, that's a good start for me.
Execute high energy turn. Understood.
Because this is getting murder right now, but that can
Maximum burn.
we can equal the score out.
Setting course.
Especially with that one pulse done.
We serve. Underway.
Alright, this thing is down and taking a lot of damage. Can we kill it?
Acknowledged.
That's what it ultimately comes down to.
Now.
Maybe I was playing a little bit too scared, but
Course engaged.
with how close the last match was against Necrons, kind of warranted some. Now let's kill a battle cruiser. No, it's a regular cruiser. So he has points for more, is what I'm seeing here. And I do have torpedoes still, and a micro warp jump at that. Can we kill this thing quickly?
Ready.
Since the huge morale damage is going to be a big deal.
Engines.
You have seized a strategic area.
Come on, I want to fire torpedoes, then jump the other way.
The enemy has accumulated 25% of strategic points.
Yeah, let's have some fun.
Ship lost.
Although I kind of sort of wished that my prow would go right in that little opening of the front of the scythe.
We wait your
I
command.
imagine how awkward it'd be to dislodge my retribution once it got stuck in there, though. It's kind of a blessing and a shame that I didn't have... that the hitboxes aren't that realistic.
Burn retro.
Since that thing would be dead, it's gonna get rammed to death, simply put, if it got stuck there.
Have accumulated 50%
I don't know what I'm saying anymore.
points.
I'm just trying to do two things at once. As per usual, I'm doing bad at both of them.
Is lost.
Well, technically that's not true if I'm winning the match, is it now?
The enemy has seized a
But what's our
strategic
cooldowns looking?
area.
Everything's back up. I even got my rally back up.
Battle is lost.
Which, thankfully, speak of the devil,
Changing course.
I was going to activate that anyway. I just wasn't paying attention how close my ship was to mutiny.
All ahead full.
Yeah, we just got to grab the points.
Course engaged.
Actually, it's safer to grab this one here and then my Dauntless.
Heading acknowledged.
Actually, my ships need to get turned around.
Execute high energy turn.
Oh, damn it. They're suffering from the dang group movement again, which is really damn irritating.
Burn retros.
So that's why they were rebelling and being stubborn.
Boarding action.
I don't know why it happens. Maybe it's because I'm accidentally clicking on a ship like that. That's probably what's causing the frantic panic that's going on, which is really messing me up, to be perfectly honest.
Changing
But we're not done yet. My retribution's due to get destroyed, and I have 2 torpedo salvos left on this tyrant. So this will be a nice series of damage. Aw, denied. But you know what I got as a constellation prize? I got armor-piercing rounds,
Ship ready.
and I'm not afraid to use them.
Underway.
Although I am getting points stolen behind me, so this isn't over yet, but I got a nice point lead to kind of recover.
Engaging.
As far as the objective's concerned,
We wait your command.
more bombers, engines are damaged again,
Loaded and sent.
and you could just straight up ram these frigates, ideally. Let's see, what did I just hit there? I think I accidentally hit the cold arms on one of my ships, so yeah, just haphazardly trying to do a sensor pulse, or scanner pulse.
We wait your command.
Now, this should be all but dead.
Engaging engines.
Yep, it's dead now after a bomber run.
We serve.
Now, I could easily spread and just capture everything at this point.
Acquiring new.
And the reload will help nicely with recharging my combustion gauge.
Ship ready.
Otherwise, so long as I get 3 points, this is a guaranteed win, since I can spread out and just sit on them mostly. It's just my one frigate that's going to be vulnerable. And it's kind of important to grab them as well.
Heading acknowledged.
Alright, let's just... They're only jackals as well.
Your orders.
Or are they dirches? Dirches are the weak ones, right? Yeah, dirches are the weak ones. I'm just going to grab 3 points is all I need. Don't need to worry about much else. So you're group 1, Grand Cruiser and them a group 2.
Changing course.
The enemy has accumulated.
And then we'll have vision for this
50%
third point here, which
strategic
hopefully
points.
the Retribution can easily start shooting at them. And hell, I got a micro warp jump if it's ever needed.
Your orders?
I just gotta make sure one of my points are not left
We wait your command.
isolated, vulnerable. Because you know what? You can clearly
Understood.
tell what the intention is right here. We're trying to hunt down my frigate.
Coordinates acknowledged.
Not that it's really a big issue.
Changing course.
Since again, I just need 3 points. I already have a point lead, so this isn't a huge issue.
Execute
And one downside of your inertial strive is you don't actually face towards me. It's just a scanner pulse
The
that might be
enemy has seized a
inconvenience.
strategic area. You have seized a strategic area.
There, let's emphasize the point, shall we?
Damage team, begin repairs now.
I'm not going to get the ram, sadly, but it might ram me as a
Burn
bonus.
retros.
Now just murder 8.
Engines.
With your armor-piercing rounds, I demand instant death on these things. Oh, these are actual jackals. Okay. I was thinking they were also dirches, in which case they would have been an immediate kill.
A strategic area.
But killing 2 frigates is a nice bonus
Course
there.
engaged.
Since there's no way to gain through the shields and they don't have any lances to kind of do the hull damage needed, there's always a possibility they could ram me, which is why I'm tempted to just brace for impact in that regard. Now, my Dauntless isn't actually moving because of
Wait your command.
burn retros. And let's see, you were revealed, and so you will be dead in a moment. And you're fleeing. Okay, this is over. This is definitely over now.
All ahead, full.
That was a fun little match.
Ready.
I was preparing for a close range engagement, if I were to be so honest. And why am I trying to ram you? I should have fired torpedoes. But in all seriousness, I was worried about a really close range engagement, which is why I was playing as passively as I was. What should I have looked for, though? I saw the upgrade with the Tesseract Crypt, which honestly doesn't say a whole lot. It doesn't seem like it says a lot, but making sure your extra health regeneration is always active can kind of signifies a more longer-term engagement, does it? Oh, and extra health on the frigates. That I never saw, because I never checked the frigates, mind you. Hard to say. I was worried for a close-range engagement, simply put, so I was waiting for a jump in, the AoE combo, and then boost it on out, and then working from there. But since it never happened, it was a little bit awkward on what I should have been doing. Should I have really gone full-on aggression? Since it comes to realize, the Star Pulse generators aren't all that dangerous on their own, since I don't think they ignore armor. It never says in the description anywhere. Let me check that to be certain. If it says anywhere here. No, it's not helpful. Oh, there we go. 250 damage. Yeah, it doesn't say anything about ignoring armor, so maybe... Yeah, I'm overestimating the Star Pulses, and really it's just the Necron's Scarab Swarm here, which does a lot of damage if it hits multiple ships, without a doubt. So that's what let me start over. It's this thing that I'm afraid of with the close range engagement. That and the Tesseract Transdimensional Bolt can also do a lot of damage over time too, so that can be scary. But maybe the moral of the story is I overreacted a little bit too much, or was a little too hesitant. Ooh, Corsairs. I don't think I've actually played up against Corsairs yet. I played against Ejriani, mind you, and a lot of Drukhari, but not really the Corsairs. In all honesty, this is why I have disruption bombs. If I can get some good hits on them, then they are going to be arguably more fragile than the Drukhari in some sense. Outside maybe the Void Stalker, which is going to probably be staying at maximum range possible, especially if he has the upgrades for the additional range too on that thing. So that could be no joke, but if I could do this properly, I can at least run that down really damn well. Now, hold fire on these things, they're going to be more for fission than anything else, and I got these 3 points to use pretty well. Aww. Trust me, I had some terrible maps as well. I even recorded some of those matches, I feel like anyway. But, actually, what do I want to do? Make sure the Retribution's not an easy target, ideally. Since it's the least mobile, and I don't want to burn my micro warp jump carelessly. And that was not what I want. Get back in your proper group, you traitor. This is heresy at its finest, and I won't stand for it. The only reason I'm not executing you now is because I need the morale for what's to come. Succeed and you may survive. I may let you live. You've shown your dedication to the Emperor. Alright, the prayers have been given, let's get this going.
Burn retros.
And immediately I burn retros. This is not a promising start, is it now? No, it's anyone's guess what I'm up against here. But otherwise, keep the formation. Hell, normally what I sometimes try and do is have this Grand Cruiser in its own separate group. Make that a little more convenient. And then have it hang back a bit. Ideally, just grab these 3 points and wait for my opponent to do something. Yeah, this is really nice and convenient for me, but most of the time, I have the range to at least shoot at them regardless if I can get the 3 points. This just honestly makes a little difference. Maybe just a little more accurate shots, but if my demonstration with the Corsairs on my last video is any indication, then it's really easy to dodge macro cannons regardless of the range, outside maybe point-blank range.
Your orders?
Also, let's listen for Wraithbone shifts. See if they are doing that.
Ship ready.
And keep my Dauntless and everything handy and convenient. Ideally, have my Dauntless somewhere where it probably won't get caught off guard.
We serve.
You have seized a strategic area.
No, I don't want these frigates to get sniped, ideally.
Understood.
And we'll slowly make our way to the final point.
Fury interceptors in flight.
And can I at least avoid the beacon?
Course engaged.
I think I'm gonna get stuck by a beacon. Not a huge issue, I guess, since I get identified anyway just because of the beacon.
Coordinates acknowledged.
It's just the double range I need to be careful of.
Your orders? Course
Which,
engaged.
actually, the Dauntless is gonna get detected too, so this makes it a little bit tricky.
Engaging
The frigate's not
engines.
spot though, so that's kind of convenient.
We wait your
Oh yeah, I
command.
forgot I put you in a separate group. That doesn't help me much.
Heading acknowledged.
No, I'm hearing no Wraithbone shifts, so that's one praise to my opponent, I guess. Now that leaves me completely
orders?
oblivious on where they are.
Aye, Admiral.
So do I go with my main fleet and
Understood.
grab this point? With that said,
We serve.
I probably should, since that leaves these frigates kind of hidden.
Engaging engines.
And then we'll see what happens there.
Ship ready.
Ideally, I should have these frigates spread out so that way if they do get
course.
randomly spot, then... Okay.
Enemy sighted.
Ship ready. Understood.
Let's see. Torpedoes at the ready. Yeah, and that's part of the reason why I don't want them to get shot down really quickly. But,
We wait your command.
let's see if we can make this hurt.
Coordinates acknowledged.
It's just a bunch of cruisers, huh? Oh, that's a shame. I want that ram too. So losing 2 frigates is a big deal.
We wait your command.
But I can at least grab this point with the 1 frigate still.
Maximum
Really?
burn.
Gonna fire frigate. Oh, and they're all cruisers too. I forgot the shroud effect, so
Setting course.
that's perfectly fine then.
We serve.
He has to reconceal himself if he wants to avoid taking a lot of damage. But let's make this miserable for him.
We serve.
Try to anyway. And this frigate will grab the point easily enough. We're gonna have to do a hard disengage if you don't want to get disruption bombed.
Course engaged.
Burn retros.
Setting course.
Alright, torpedoes should get shot down mostly. Yep, that is good.
Coordinates
Nice little
acknowledged.
dodge there. I almost forgot that roll. I was thinking mostly Drukari type setup, so having my frigates destroyed is not a huge loss just yet. I just gotta make sure I keep doing the damage necessary.
Ship ready.
And keep good use of my dang... What is it? My Dauntless has plenty of health, so I kind of want that to kind of ram and intimidate some. And also, be used as a means to kind of activate or open up a possibility for a micro warp jump later too. Sadly, losing those frigates carelessly, well, it's kind of hard to do that due to the fact that the beacon was kind of making it difficult. But Can I at least turn?
Understood.
Turn, shoot these down.
All ahead full.
I might as well brace for
Course
impact.
engaged.
I lose my range enhancement,
Admiral.
range extension, but that's fine.
Changing course.
Get this Cobra going. I still have
We
2 points,
serve. Changing
and you're still
course.
revealed. Let's just make sure your engines are priority with that
Your
said.
orders? Setting course.
And I'll just make my way back over this point. Hell, at least get closer to
We
that
serve.
point.
Heading
And fire more
ignited.
torpedoes. See if that hits or not. I actually have fighters up as well, for good measure.
Your orders.
Alright.
Burn retros.
Fighters, I have 2 squadrons of fighters, so this should deal with these
Engaging
really well.
engines. We wait your
Just gotta
command.
The enemy has accumulated 25%
Just need to let the frigate capture the Cobra. Or actually, the Dauntless could do it. It has the health to survive these
Changing
hits.
course.
And, oh yeah, that's part of... It's not the objectives. Okay, I'm completely wrong. It was actually the layout of the points that was making it difficult. Alright,
Underway.
if we can reveal him, that's fine. Since then, he permanently loses this visibility to an extent.
Course engaged.
So long as the damage is being spread, I'm fine with
Aye,
it.
Admiral. Course engaged. Understood.
Gotta actually start killing some of these ships. That's gonna be the trick.
Ship ready. Maximum burn.
You have accumulated 25%
All right.
strategic points.
Impossible, Admiral.
Our borders have caused
Sorry,
internal
there's a
damage.
bunch of fighters there. That was not a good idea, but
We serve.
I applaud you anyway.
Coordinates acknowledged. Your orders?
Now, I don't... That was a bad torpedo shot, mind you, but at least
You
puts them in a
have
very
seized
awkward
strategic
predicament.
area.
Ship ready.
Can I at least do the damage necessary is the big question.
We serve. Reloading.
Since now reloading is active, this will give me
We
better
wait
rate
your
of fire.
command. Setting course.
I almost want to just grab these points over here, since he's made his priority clear to an extent.
Engaging engines.
Now, since they're fragile, why not just fire torpedoes? That'll force a reaction at least, right?
Underway.
Aye, Admiral.
The enemy has seized a strategic area.
Maximum burn.
Come on, you can do better with these torpedoes.
Your orders.
Don't disappoint me.
Aye, Admiral.
You're almost gonna hit yourself now.
Coordinates acknowledged.
I thank you for that.
Starhawks loaded and
Yeah.
sent.
Just make sure the Retribution is doing its macro cannon fire and we're golden.
We serve.
Since it's gonna be the trickiest to kind of control.
All ahead, full.
And meanwhile, let's just ram these Corsairs to death.
You have accumulated 50% of strategic points.
Pete, I'm even doing commentary and I'm hearing these torpedoes, just barely, mind you, but I'm hearing them. And thankfully, that is essential. Because if I get distracted, I can overlook the audio cue with these torpedoes, and as I mentioned before, they're way too quiet for especially newer players that don't quite understand how important it is to actually dodge these torpedoes. But thankfully, I'm actually catching it
Your command.
to a limited extent.
Engaging
Otherwise, let's grab
engines.
this point. Ooh, I forgot about you. And I think my opponent completely forgot about it as well, since I was holding fire this entire time, I think.
Your orders?
That's kind of a vague example of what I would refer to with the my light cruiser being completely catching the Drukari off guard in the few matches I played. Okay, I could turn. I'm going to take no torpedo hits there, but
Your orders?
I do need some defenses.
Initiate emergency repairs. Ship ready.
Can we ram? I would love a ram.
Burn retros.
And point defense is going to clean these up
We
nicely.
serve.
Thank you for your accommodations. Here, have a torpedo to the face.
Heading
I was going to say have a prow to the face too, but sadly it did not happen.
retros. Course engaged.
Now, where is my... Okay, you're about to get the point,
Ship
so...
ready.
Eventually, this will be managed. It's already basically managed. I got plenty of health still on these things.
Maximum burn.
And without their engines crippled,
Engaging
maybe.
engines.
Yep, come on, fly into my pathway.
Ship ready.
Fly into my ships. Hell, I'm not even gonna wait. Let me fly into yours.
Accumulated 50% of strategic
Thank you for your
points.
accommodations.
Accumulated
I guess
75% of
now,
strategic
after the
points.
fact, I realize what he meant by the layout being bad, because there was no areas to hide behind, mind you. So I can't fault him on that. To some extent, anyway. But you do need a plan for it nonetheless. Which I'm trying to remember, what did my Corsair fleet have? It was mostly, it was in all honesty, mostly Auroras. So yeah, I was... So, the comment he made regarding the being able to hide his fleet is not really much of an issue with mine. The falls are just awkward, but they serve as adequate bait too. So maybe that's why I didn't realize what he was talking about for the longest time, but still, it's a nice solid win. A lot of it was because I was able to see those torpedoes coming, let's be honest. If those started hitting and started getting essential critical hits, then that could have easily been a different story.